we stop or slow the progression. Our goal is that we could stop it. And this way the patients can go on and live a normal life. What we saw, a small patient cohort, is that there was no progression on the mean at 6 months and barely any decline at 1 year. You don't do those things unless you believe in the product and you believe in the mission of the company and you believe that it's going to be successful. We're set up to create a lot of value in a relatively short time frame. It's biotech, things can go the other way too, so I have to say that to be transparent.
Welcome to The Upside with Lou Basenese, where we endeavor to find unique opportunities with asymmetric upside in this market. And it is my pleasure to be rejoined by the CEO of Coya Therapeutics, Arun Swaminathan. Good to have you back in the studio, my friend.
Lou, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me back on your show.
Yeah.
I always love it.
It's been several months. I mean, it was the end of last year that we spoke. Wanted to level set, but before we do that, what's happened? For people that are unfamiliar with Coya, lay out for them what you're doing and why it's so significant.
Yeah. What we're doing at Coya is we want to make diseases like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Lou Gehrig's Day is actually coming up on 2nd June. Diseases like frontal temporal dementia and hopefully over the long term, diseases like Alzheimer's, diseases that become manageable diseases. It may sound a little funny, but we almost want to make them chronic diseases, right? Meaning these patients can live a regular, normal life, just they got to take a therapy.
So not neurodegenerative, but they're manageable diseases that you slow the progression.
We stop or slow the progression. Our goal is that we could stop it. Yeah. And this way the patients can go on and live a normal life. Today, the average ALS patient dies 3 to 5 years from diagnosis. And FTD patient 5 to 7 years, but more than even shortened lifespan, their quality of life starts declining pretty rapidly. In the case of ALS, the physical abilities start dropping as early as 6 months after diagnosis. And in FTD, the cognitive function declines pretty fast in a few years in many patients. So we want to be able to stop them and keep them where they were when they were first diagnosed. And that would be transformative.
Well,
that means
anyone that has a family member or friend that has suffered from these diseases knows how debilitating it is. Talk about where your lead asset is, what the data that's been out there, and then what the change has been since we last spoke.
Yeah, our lead asset, we call it Coya 302.
Yeah, you didn't come up with some complicated drug name yet.
Eventually, but right now, no. It is a combination of a low-dose interleukin-2 and a CTLA-4 Ig, proprietary combination from us. The lead indication where we're the most advanced is in ALS. Yep. We have a trial ongoing right now called All Stars, which is a potential registrational phase 2B study.
Right. For the people that don't understand, ALS. Registrational means basically you get to the end of this, you could be applying for approval with the FDA based upon the results.
Exactly.
Right. And then when does this trial supposed to end?
So we anticipate completing recruitment in the second half of this year with a top line in early half of next year. Okay.
So we're 6 to 9 months away. Yeah. And then what's the data showing now based on, from phase 1 to the All-Stars phase 2?
Yeah, no, obviously we don't know what the data is with All-Stars. That's a double-blind study that's going on. We have no insight into the data there. But what we have seen is in the past data, in small studies that we have done with this combination in ALS, is that we saw at 6 months, no progression in ALS on the mean. So remember the vision I was talking about. If that plays out, it is not an unrealistic vision, meaning these patients came in at a score of ALS-FRS, which is a score that tells you how well or badly a patient's doing, at 35, which is mild to moderate ALS. So the best score you can have is 48. At 35, you're already symptomatic. Something is...
And what's the normal rate of progression downward for that?
It's about 1 point a month on an average.
Okay.
On top of the therapies people are on right now. So they still decline 1 point a month. And Lou, to your point, 1 point a month, to just put it in context, a 6-point decline can be the difference between a patient's left arm feeling weak, not working, to them not being able to climb stairs.
And that's, we're talking about 6 months.
And that can happen in 6 months.
Yeah,
and it does happen to a lot of ALS patients in that time frame. So that's the average decline. And what we saw, a small patient cohort, is that there was no progression on the mean at 6 months and barely any decline at 1 year.
Wow.
If this plays out, and we have strong scientific rationale to believe that we're likely to see successful outcome in our currently ongoing All-Star trials, it can be transformative for these patients. Not just for patients.
Yeah.
The impact ALS has is on a family as well. There are caregivers that either give up their jobs, reduce the number of hours they're working because they have to take care of a loved one.
Yeah.
So the burden is not just on the patient, it's on the family as well. And if we can be even any part in making the lives of these patients better, I think that'll be the most satisfying.
No, I mean, this is the double bottom line from Biotech, right? It's you're helping patients, it's quality of life, but then also generating an economic return in the stock market. Talk to me about, you mentioned that these scores now on current treatments, they're still going down a point a month. What are the current treatments doing then? Are they just more managing the symptoms and not addressing the root of the problem?
Well, there's only 2 approved therapies. One's called riluzole and one is called Radicava. And they both kind of slow down a little bit the progression, but not to the extent where it is clinically meaningful at this point. If you talk to the doctors that are managing ALS patients, they'll tell you, it's better than nothing, but it's not exactly a solution at this point. And this decline of 1 point is on top of patients taking riluzole and Radicava in some cases.
So it's like having a nasty migraine and trying to cure it with an Advil. It might take the edge off, but it's not going to do anything really.
It's not, and this is data from thousands and thousands of patients that show that this average decline is 1 point a month.
So you have a burden of proof. The hurdle rate for the standard of care is very low for you to get over. So if you can show in phase 2, that's a promising thing. Talk to me about the science behind it in layman's terms. You had great car analogies last time, because when you throw out an IL-2, interleukin 2, and is it wild type and CTLA-4, we've lost everyone else. So what exactly is the drug Coya 302 doing, and how is it functioning?
Yeah, I can stick with the car analogy, or I can use a...
You're a great communicator. That's why I want you to articulate it.
Or use a security guard analogy if this time you want a different analogy.
It, man. I love it.
So I'd say that what we're trying to do is to make the security guards stronger and be more durable and not fall asleep, if I can use a different analogy this time. And that's our secret sauce. Not so secret because we publicly disclose it now, but that's our differentiating sauce. What we're able to do is to not only get these security guards to be more functional, and kind of more stronger, greater in numbers, but keep them there. Because what happens in diseases like ALS is that the environment is very inflammatory. So if I use the security guard analogy, imagine that we have strengthened the security guards, we have made them stronger, but they're in a very distracting environment, an inflammatory environment. They are going to lose their efficacy. They're going to make
the team takeovers of the riots of these cities. You can't
they may not do their
there.
job well. So what we have figured out is how to keep the other aspects of the immune system quiet as well. So now the security guards can really focus and they stay durable.
So you secure the border and then have watchmen over it that now are watching a secure border, no inflammation. So I think that's an interesting thing for people, laymen and women, to understand, is that the root, we believe, of these neurodegenerative diseases is inflammation in different types and build up in the body. And it's, can you, 1, clear it out, and then 2, prevent it from reoccurring? I mean, is that in rudimentary way how to explain how Coya 302 is working? Yeah,
it's a 1-2 punch. One gets these numbers of these things called regulatory T cells, which is the security guards I was talking about, up and more active. Their suppressive function goes up. And the second ingredient, CTLA-4, comes in, make sure that the macrophages and activated myeloid cells, which is that macro environment I was talking about, stays quiet. I think people have heard about cytokines a lot. And so basically these inflammatory cytokines are kept quiet.
Okay,
That's
so
really
that was
what
everyone
the
probably heard of
CTLA-4
the cytokines when CAR T therapy started taking off because you'd have these.
You had these storms, cytokine storms.
Yeah, you
right?
basically gave the body medicine and it activated all the T cells in the body, and it
Correct.
just
And so it's about keeping a balance, right? Just like a security guard, you want the security guard to be discreet enough to know who's a threat and who's not a threat, so they're not like blocking somebody they
You're
shouldn't.
so good at extending these analogies. Like you have a second career after you exit Coya.
I don't know. I think I want my career to be a successful Coya where we deliver this therapy to patients, and I think that'll make my life, to be honest.
No, and I've appreciated that from you. You have a genuine passion for this. You came out of big pharma, so you understand what it takes. So talk to me through what are the next steps, right? You have a partnership with Dr. Reddy's. What does that mean? How important is that? What are the next catalysts that could help play well into that partnership?
Yeah, I mean, our partnership with Dr. Reddy's continues to only get better, if that's even possible. It's a wonderful partnership to begin with. I mean, just to refresh from our last conversation, it's a $700 million deal we did with Dr. Reddy's. We have received substantial non-dilutive money through milestone payments from them, which puts us in a unique place for a small company where we are not completely dependent on the capital market always. We do have other non-dilutive sources of funding that's coming in. But more recently, in January, since we talked, Dr. Reddy's made a strategic investment in Coya, where now they're right under 10% ownership stake in Coya. To me, what that says is you don't do those things unless you believe in the product and you believe in the mission of the company and you believe that it's going to be successful. Because that $10 million investment was for a specific purpose, to move the timelines forward on transferring and getting ready for the manufacturing process for commercial supply. So, that basically says that, hey, we want to be ready. Because to your point, there's a possibility of approval on good data. And we want to be completely ready for that. And that's what that investment came
I think
for.
that's interesting from the standpoint. I don't know that everyday investors would understand that distinction, right? That money, those payments, that investment, was it $10 million, right? Right into the common stock.
Correct.
Was to accelerate the production of the drug. Why would you do, I mean, connect the dots. Why would you do that unless you had a high level of confidence there was going to be a need for it?
I mean, exactly. I mean, we're not going to spend money getting ready for commercial if we don't think we have a shot at it, right? I mean, I think that would not be.
So what's the next catalyst then, right? So you're getting commercial ready in the event that things go, best case scenario or medium case scenario. But what's the next catalyst that investors should be looking out for?
Yeah. So in 2026, we have already announced, I think, a few things that are value creators and that'll build on it. One, since we talked, we've gotten fast track designation. That's very meaningful. It's a validating milestone for Coya, because what a fast track does is basically it says that the FDA is saying, okay, we want to find a way to get drugs that are life-saving to the market, to the patients as fast and efficiently as possible. And a fast track opens the door for us to have more frequent communications with the FDA.
You get a bat phone into the FDA, direct communication, right?
Yeah, exactly. We get the doors, the communication channels are opened. It allows for rolling submission. And this is important, potentially. Everything is potential. Rolling submissions, because that means we don't have to wait to have the entire package before we submit it to the FDA. We can submit it kind of on a piecemeal basis, so the FDA can be reviewing them as they come in, and then they could make decisions much faster, right? And then it automatically opens the door to accelerated approvals, priority reviews, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar with this, their FDA has on their website a very good articulation of this process, the benefit of it. Correct. So I agree, it's opens that door. So that's a great catalyst that you,
And we also got the green light early this year to begin a phase 2A trial with the same combination with Coya 302 in patients with frontal temporal dementia. So we will be initiating that trial in the second half of 2026. And I think why that is important, while a lot of investors sometimes view starting a trial as, well, you started a trial. I don't see that as value inflection, is the confidence that this mechanism is making a difference.
Yeah.
The Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation, a really scientific organization, loves the combination approach we're taking in FTD and has invested in it.
Yeah.
Again, similar to the Dr. Reddy's, the point I think investors will appreciate is nothing is more validating than when somebody kicks the tires and writes you a check, because people can always say, hey, I love what you do, but if they don't write you a check, they don't really mean it.
Someone always told me, right? I don't care what you do. Show me what you spend your money on and I'll tell you what you care about.
Yeah. And I think that they wouldn't put their money there if they didn't believe in this approach. So to me, the starting of the FTD trial, while traditionally not viewed as a value creator, I understand that, is, I think, something investors should view as a value creator, because it is just showing the confidence we have in this approach. Additional milestones we will have in 2026. Of course, we will have periodic updates on how our All-Star trial is going on. And I think that is something investors are watching, because ultimately, when we say we've got the last patient recruited, the clock to the top line is very definitive at that point, right?
And what is the time period on drug that you're measuring for each patient?
Every patient stays on a double-blind portion for first 6 months.
Okay. And
then at the end of 6 months, the placebo patients roll over to a treatment arm. So every patient is on Coya 302 after 6 months, and they continue on for 1 year. But the data that we will be taking to the FDA is at the end of 6 months.
Okay.
So when every patient has completed 6 months, we'll be in a position to take that to the FDA. And the nice thing about that is the primary endpoint is 6 months. And while the FDA is reviewing, assuming we have rolling submissions, etc.,
you're going to keep getting
we can
data.
keep adding some of the 1 year data and stuff as well to help.
How many patients is the target enrollment for this phase 2?
120.
Okay. Having any problems with recruitment? I got to imagine that it's a compelling proposition given your early data and the standard of care.
Yeah, recruitment's going as we anticipate. We haven't changed our guidance on completing recruitment by the second half of this year. There was a key event that actually has now increased our screening rates, and we're seeing that direct data. When we started this trial, the FDA had, for reasons I won't get into because the high-dose IL-2s have that on their label, had a restriction that we have to exclude patients who are taking antihypertensive medication.
Okay.
And also with certain autoimmune conditions, certain stable autoimmune conditions. So that ALS patients, not because of ALS, just because their average age tends to be in the 50s and 60s, half of Americans in that age group, above 55, are on hypertensive medication. So it kind of restricted our pool a little bit in the beginning part of the trial. But now we have gone back to the FDA, and with the support of the FDA and Health Canada, we have revised that protocol to now exclude these. So we can now include them. We can now include patients with antihypertensive therapy, and we're already starting to see the impact of that in terms of higher screening rates. So I think it'll further enable faster enrollment, hopefully. So
let's fast forward a little bit. Suggesting that you get the same trends coming out in the phase 2. How big of a market is this for ALS? I mean, if we quantify it, and then if you're starting a phase 2A in frontal temporal dementia, by the way, I always think FTD and I think flowers, not frontal temporal dementia. So
there used to be a company.
I have to say it.
Do they still exist?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say the acronym fully, otherwise I get confused. What's the market if you could expand into FTD? Yeah,
so ALS alone is easily a 1 billion plus market in the United States alone. And if you add the European Union and Japan, we're talking upwards of $2.5–3 billion in annual sales for ALS.
Yeah.
There are about 6,000 new patients diagnosed every year in the United States, and there's about 30,000 patients on any given day. it's a pretty good market opportunity. It is also a very concentrated commercial opportunity. There are about 80 to 100 doctors that essentially manage an overwhelming percentage, like 70% of ALS patients.
So they're all managing maybe 50, 60 patients each.
Correct. And so you don't need a big sales force. You don't need a big commercial footprint. Of course, Dr. Reddy's is our commercial partner. They're going to take care of that part of it and the expenses that come with it as well. FTD, there is really no benchmark because there's been no product ever approved in FTD. But if you use the ALS model of pricing, the pricing for ALS and FTD will have to be the same.
Yeah.
Then I would say, again, that's another $1 billion+ market.
And this is a drug that they'd have to continue to stay on lifetime, right? Yeah. So that expands the revenue generation. What's the administration? Talk through that regimen for people so they understand.
So we're studying 2 different dosing regimens. In the small study in ALS, what we studied was every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we're studying that in our All-Stars trial. But we're also studying once a month because we think once a month should work based on a small study we did in frontal temporal dementia patients, where once a month was very effective.
And this is a infusion therapy?
Subcutaneous. So it's think like GLP-1 injections.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It'll be in the fridge of the patient's home. It can be self-administered. Obviously, with ALS and FTD patients, they may not be capable of self-administering it, so it may have to be a caregiver, but it is literally a few second process to inject the drug. It's self-administered and no different than insulin and GLP-1s.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Let's talk about things go right. You're moving down the road. We always ask this question. I'm curious if your convictions change. What's the upside for Coya, assuming a favorable outcome in phase 2 here for 302 and ALS?
Yeah, a favorable outcome in ALS will be transformative. There is really no therapy right now that stops the progression or even remotely significantly slows down the progression. So the opportunity, we just talked about the commercial opportunity, the valuation is going to follow. And not only is it just about ALS, and I think that's something important for investors to kind of keep in mind, is that when our ALS study is successful, and I'm saying when because I feel pretty confident that we will be successful, it is going to validate FTD. It's going to validate any other indications that we're going to pursue, like Alzheimer's. The reason to believe that this mechanism, this combination is going to work in other neurodegenerative diseases has to go up.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing discounted cash flow model, PTRS assessment.
Or you're getting free options, do Black-Scholes on those options of those pipeline assets.
You're going to look at a pretty significant value-creating event. And I think it's going to be very significant for Coya.
So before I ask you the last question, I want to get your picture, your sentiment on just the broader biotech space and innovation, because you've been a journeyman here, right? You've seen a lot. You've seen the pace of innovation. You're talking about bringing to market a drug that's transformative in these neurodegenerative diseases that have really no other treatments, right? FTD doesn't, ALS. From the layman, I'm like, you're not really helping at all. This is like you're trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Yeah. My contention is that we're going to see some of the biggest discoveries and medical breakthroughs based upon phase 1, phase 2 data that Coya is doing. There's companies in the Parkinson's space. We get into pancreatic cancer. Do you have the same type of enthusiasm across the sector for the innovation that's happening, like the advancement of science?
Absolutely. I'm always enthusiastic about our industry because it's an industry that beats the odds every single time. Yeah. The odds are not easy in this industry, but good science and perseverance usually leads to transformative options. We saw that in oncology, right, Lou? We saw the transformation in oncology. If people are old enough to have been in this industry 20 years ago, oncology was chemotherapy.
Yeah. Basically try and fry the body and kill the cancer before you kill the patient.
And just kind of take a shotgun approach, right? Just hit everything. Now oncology has become very targeted thanks to the antibodies, thanks to the PD-1s, thanks to a lot of, and you talked about pancreatic cancer. I think Revolution Medicine is doing something revolutionary with that, and I'm not the expert on it, but
so Actuate is another company there that's getting great progress. And
so there's a lot of companies doing really innovative things. It's not just Coya, and we're proud to be one of them. We consider we're one of those companies doing things. And I also think neuroscience and neurodegenerative space, and neuroscience in the psychedelic space too, but I'm not as familiar with that space, but neurodegenerative space is the next frontier. We are going to see major breakthroughs in neurodegenerative diseases, whether it's ALS, FTD, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. It's there. I can see the bubbling, like oncology saw that, like I felt it 15 years ago in oncology. I can feel that in the neuroscience
I love
space
hearing
right
that because it's validation of what I see from the outside, but paying attention to the headlines and kind of putting the pieces together. Last question for you, and I always ask this to CEOs, is there something out there that you think investors misunderstand or don't appreciate enough that you just want to be able to get the message out about?
Yeah, I think one of the things about Coya investors, some of them at least, may be missing, and I'm speculating because nobody directly tells you these things sometimes.
It's probably being the CEO.
Is that they're not, I don't think they're fully appreciating the value creating opportunity in a very imminent time frame Coya presents, because everything is set up for success. Now, it's biotech. We don't know what will happen with the clinical trial, but that moment's not that far away if you're an investor, where we are going to, it's a company with very strong science. The science has been backed up with evidence, early evidence. We continue to build the evidence. So if you're an investor, I would ask you to look at three things. Look at our science. Look at the evidence we built. 2, look at the validating partnerships we have. To our previous conversation, people didn't kick the tires and write a check unless they believe in this program and our path. And 3, as an investor, look at our balance sheet. Look at our cap table. It's clean. We don't have debt. We did not have any warrants attached to any of the capital raises we did. Amazing
that you engineered that way.
Yeah. And we have cash to get us past this top line readout for ALS. So I think investors if they saw these 3 things together, and I have a feeling they don't put these 3 things together, and that kind of means they're missing, and maybe they're thinking, there's time for me to wait and see what happens with Coya, and they may be right, but I'd say, I think
don't wait too long.
We're set up to create a lot of value in a relatively short time frame. It's biotech; things can go the other way too. So I have to say that to be transparent. But I think investors are missing that sense of urgency of why now, and I don't think they're thinking it through. These 3 things.
No, that's fair, and I think that's a very thoughtful appraisal of the situation, and I think you frame it well. That you've got a lot of factors working in your favor. The timeline is definitive. It's not that far out when we're talking about science and biotech terms. Between now and the end of the year, essentially. So. I would love to have you back on to talk through the latest developments as they emerge. Let's not make it 4 or 5 months in between this time if it works for you, and wish you the best of success. I appreciate your passion for this because you are changing potentially people's lives and the quality of life. And that's a job, the CEO job is hard enough. And then when you're facing that, it's even harder.
No, thank you. Thanks so much, Lou. I always enjoy being on your show. And thank you for the kind words. But really, the people that should be hearing those kind words are the people working on the team in Coya. We have such a passionate, committed group of people who put the center patient at the center every single day. And I think that's what drives us. And I know I want to take the opportunity to thank all the people that have supported it along the way, patients, investigators, investors.
Yeah.
You can't do this alone. So I really
well
appreciate
said. Please
it.
pass along the thanks to them as well as a shareholder and just a friend of what you're doing. So
thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Look forward to next time.
Thank you.